Okay, I'm back in New York, and a question a few people asked me after my Baltimore videos, where there's all these high hands going on, which I kind of answered months ago. Do I, or people in general, come out ahead when there are promos going on? Now, I made those videos where I played about 30 hours at Bally's and about 30 hours at MGM, and counted exactly how much went into the promo fund from hands that I won. When I win, either $0 or $1 or $2 get taken out of the pot and go into the promo fund, and then I counted how much I got back in high hands. And Bally's had the player appreciation tournament, which you might call a free roll. So I could do this kinda. There's one unknown for a much larger sample in the Baltimore area. Not this one. This stretch recently is kind of tough because now it's $3 maximum coming out of hands at the Horseshoe Baltimore for the promo fund. I don't know what it is at Maryland Live. Barely played there this recent trip, but that gets more complicated because it's 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. But back in 2020 and 2021, I have some data and we could do this. I played from September 2nd through mid-February on and off, and check out these numbers. So in that stretch for about 4 to 5 months, I played 962.98 hours at the Horseshoe Baltimore and Maryland Live combined, and I received $3,858 in promotions. So if you're wondering, first, why does the promo money end in an 8, not a 5 or a 0? I think there was one time, it was a very good dealer who kept the worst guy at the table for longer than he was gonna stay. And I happened to hit a high hand that down, so I tipped him like the typical 10%, plus all the 1s and 2s I had in my stack, which I think was an extra $7, because that was a great job that guy did, keeping the terrible player at the table. So $38.58 received, 962.98 hours. So we could do this. Now let's go to the bottom, do some math. We could work backwards because I don't know exactly how much I paid into the fund. I wasn't counting that, and I've almost never counted that in my life. But we could work backwards and find the break-even amount of hands that it would take. We could find the number of hands won per hour such that it would be break-even. I've paid into the fund the same amount as I've received. So we could do this. The hands I win where $0 get taken out, those don't matter. The hands where I raise pre-flop and that's the end of it. $0 get taken out and go into the promo fund. Also, it's very rare that only $1 comes out of a pot, because if I raise and get called, then the pot is a size such that $2 are going to be coming out of the pot. Once there's a raise pre-flop and a call and you get to the flop, you're there. You're at max promo. So it's really rare. It would really need to be like I'm in the blinds and there's no raise and we get to the flop and there's either 4, 5, or 6 players, so $12, $15, or $18 in the pot, and I bet the flop and everyone folds. In that case, exactly $1 would come out of the pot and go into the promo, but that's rare. Almost all pots I play, there's a raise pre-flop. So the ones where $0 get taken out literally don't matter. The ones where $1 gets taken out, very rare. There's no way to account for them anyway, so let's just ignore them. So let's just think about the number of hands I win per hour in which $2 get taken out. Okay, so let's do this first. $3,858, that's the amount of money I received in promos in that stretch in 2020 and 2021 playing in Northern Maryland. Divide that by 2. So it's 1,929 hands, each having $2 taken out going into the promo fund. So if I won that many hands, then it would be break even. Now divide that 1929 divided by the number of hours I played, 962.98, and the number is almost exactly 2. It's 2.003 and then more decimals. So the question is, how many hands per hour do I win? Because if it's exactly 2, then it's like a break-even scenario. If I win more than that, then I'm losing. I'm paying more into the fund than I'm receiving out of the fund. And if it's a number smaller than that, then I'm ahead I'm not paying as much into the fund as I'm receiving back from the fund. So one stretch from which I have data is 2021, the original Keep Track week actually. Didn't have a channel, had Twitter, was making poker posts, very few followers, but for 7 days I picked a stat each day, played a 10-hour session on most of the days, and one of the days I played a 10-hour session, I was counting how many hands I won. I won 7 hands in 10 hours, so that's 0.7 per hour. That's less than 2. I do win a small number of large pots. That's my best style, but that was a 7-week stretch in Oklahoma where a lot of things that could go wrong did go wrong, and I feel like that's probably underrepresenting like my lifetime hands won per hour, but it is a sample and I have data for that sample, so nothing to do but go by those numbers. Not making up data, I'm not guessing when I didn't count. That was one of the 3 times where I counted 7 hands in 10 hours. And the 2 other stretches are months ago when I actually counted this. So I forget which room was which, but it says at the bottom, in one of the rooms in Vegas, I won 41.5 hands in very close to 30 hours. That came out to about 1.4 hands won per hour. And in the other room, I won 46 hands in very close to 30 hours. And that came out to about 1.5 hands per hour. So in these 3 rooms, yeah, it's a 30-hour sample, a 30-hour sample, and a 10-hour sample. Not much, but it's what I have. 0.7, 1.4, and 1.5. None of these times did I win 2 hands per hour. So 2 hands per hour was the break even. Below that is me being ahead. When it comes to promotions, I receive more than I pay into the fund. If the number were higher than 2, I would be paying more into the fund than I receive back. So all numbers point to the fact that I win fewer than 2 hands per hour, max rake hands per hour. And yeah, so I feel like I'm coming out ahead. It's interesting. It's not like I would avoid these rooms. It's not like if you lose to the promo fund, quote unquote, like you can't beat the game in that room. Maybe everything else the same, you would make $20 an hour. And if you're losing to the promo fund, maybe you make $19 an hour. Like, you could still win. It's not like the only thing that should determine whether you play in these rooms or not, but I feel like I come out ahead by by playing a style where I win a small number of large pots. I don't pay much into the promo fund, and I come out ahead. I receive more than I pay into it. And I will mention, partially anecdotally, partially because it relates to this, I started keeping track of what I was receiving from promos in Baltimore in 2020, Baltimore and Hanover, because it was like a new thing to me in poker. It was happening so much, I was curious. Am I coming out ahead or behind? Not that it was going to change, you know, what state I was playing poker in, but I wanted to know, so I started keeping track. Before that, I mean, I played Foxwoods a few times, don't know what the promos were, but I never hit anything. Played Wisconsin for about 600 hours, and for a very short time, there were splash pots. I didn't win one. I was dealt into a few. I think there was like a random table drawn, and then they had a splash pot the next hand. But the bad beat was the big thing in Wisconsin. I was never part of that. A ton in Vegas. I was playing Ari and Bellagio, and they don't have promotions. And then in Iowa, when I was playing during law school, it was mostly the bad beat. I mean, I hit a straight flush for 30 bucks once, and I know the past few summers I've hit quads, I think 3 times in the last 3 summers for $90 each time after tip. So it was very new. I remember trying to estimate what I had made from when I started playing poker through September 2020. I think it was like $1,200. It was very small. Towards the end of my time in Vegas before law school, I was playing some Mirage and Harrah's and Planet Hollywood and Bally's, and it was really that stretch where I made most of it. Besides that, I remember like 25 bucks or like 50 bucks at PH. I remember yeah, the $30 straight flush in Council Bluffs. There wasn't much. So I was curious, and just like then just like now, I knew for a fact what I was receiving. I was estimating what I was paying into the fund, but pretty sure I come out ahead when it comes to promotions. And remember, rice is a spoon food.